Byron, Serrette, our former Trinbago Vice President and Events Manager. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Good morning, Rennie, and good morning to all your listeners. Thank you for having me.
It was good having you here. As I said, you decided enough of this. You said, I will not be party to a situation. Let me get exactly what you said. Resigning owing to financial irregularities with Trinbago organization, specifically identifying the purchase of two vehicles to the tune of $94,000 up to the point it was discovered. And that together with a number of other issues you said that will come out in light in soon time, but this one was enough of a sticking in the craw for you that you said enough is enough, because this comes on the heels of some things you have done before. Let me welcome you, as I said, and ask you, when was it first discovered by you and or by whom the $94,000 spending for these two vehicles, one being a BMW and the other one being an Audi?
Okay. In June this year, on the 18th and 19th of June, actually, we had a retreat of the executive. Now, this retreat really should have taken place immediately after our elections in October. But I suppose because of the shortness of the carnival and so on, and whatever else, it was not held until June. So I seized the opportunity to make a presentation at that retreat, citing issues that I had with the running of the organization, right? And what I said was, among, I would quote from some of it. I said, over the last 6 years, I've been an integral part of an executive which has made some progressive initiatives and decisions towards the betterment of the movement. However, if we are to continue along that path, then we must take actions that would make our organization more efficient, effective, mature, and financially responsible and independent. We are in difficult times and there are many challenges, seen and unseen, before us. We have neglected to upgrade many of our policies, protocols, procedures, and operations, and they are in urgent need of attention. It is imperative that we recognize and identify all our deficiencies and take steps to correct them as we lift our profile and seek interaction with other organizations, both local and international. We must strive for best practices in all that we do.
That after you tabled that memorandum, you sent it up to them. What happened after that?
What happened was that there was a certain amount of ostracism that had started before.
Why? Because you were saying things before you submitted the
Yes, I was requesting that we do things in a particular way, that we, I'm not happy with how the operations are going. I need information. Decisions are being taken and it's not coming to the central executive. We have to sit and discuss them. We are responsible for the organization. And we need to discuss. Those issues must come to the table. They must come to the executive, and we must discuss them.
You were being ostracized by whom?
Mainly by the president, and then
that's Mr. Keith Diaz.
Yes,
we'll talk about in a minute.
Right, and then eventually it seemed as though a cabal was formed around him. So
you can form your cabal, but it must be of those the decision makers. You're saying the decision makers in the organizations.
Yes,
they were. I see. So you hold them equally as responsible as
they are equally responsible. And as I said on Friday, I make the call to those of the executive who are not party, who are not part to what is going on. I invite them to resign.
Why is it no one has seen this? I assume that a financial audit, a financial report is submitted for the organization. First of all, let's just be very clear. Trinbago is an entity itself.
Incorporated by Act 5 of 1986. It's a body incorporate.
So they are responsible for looking over the audit. Is there any eyes that look over Trinbago from the government standpoint, as far as you know? This being the national culture and the infusion by the government of $34 million one time, and last year was $30 million.
Yeah. What we call our line ministry is the Ministry of Community Development, Culture, and the Arts.
Right.
And every year when we do our audit, a copy of the audit goes to the ministry. And, I would suspect, I would think that they would have some sort of oversight over the organization, and maybe through the NCC. Now, they're not involved in internal run-ins of the organization. But being a provider, and I think the minister alluded to that, being the main provider of funds for the organization, then they would be interested in what is happening in the organization.
Yes, the Minister of Community Development, Culture and Arts, Minister Nyan Gatsby-Dolly, said that she has made a request of the National Carnival Commission, the authorized body, to demand answers out of Trinbago. So I gather the NCC is the overarching body here.
Yes, I would say.
All right. Now, you were the one who saw a couple of things. And there are a whole lot of questions coming in there because, somebody of the NCC would have been looking at this. I don't think you would be in a vacuum being the qualified auditor that you are. I mean, tongue-in-cheek. I mean, so you saw it. You saw it, so somebody else could have been watching this. But we will get there after. Did you have anyone that came along with you challenging these numbers, demanding answers? Were you the only one? The voice you're hearing with me this morning is Byron Serrette. He's the former Trinbago vice president. We're talking to him this morning. Was there anyone else along with you?
Well, let me say that there are members of the executive who was not comfortable with the fact that we weren't getting answers, that the fact that they were not aware of some apparent transactions, that if you don't have any information about something at all, then you're not even sure what is the question to ask. So there are members who were uncomfortable and probably didn't know where to look, and the discomfort grew in me. And I thought, and then with the ostracism, then I said, well, if you're going to push me back in a corner like that because I'm asking questions, it means that there's something that is definitely wrong. So I started my investigation.
I got that.
And when I started my investigation, what I found in the first instance was this acquisition of the car. And that is like the opening of the door, because I must say that since the weekend, since I've gone publicly and said that I've resigned and why and so on, a whole lot of other information has been coming to me from various sources. Several and various sources.
My great area of disquiet here is that the auditors make it very clear that we are talking of insolvency, whether in fact the organization is solvent, can continue operating. And my thing is, when you get to that stage, that is the last line. It means that something has been going on for quite some time, unless everybody decided this year they're going to run into debt. We're talking about millions and millions of dollars that the company is in debt. Usually, the rank and file will see this if there is chaos in the executive. So it leads me to ask you the question, have Steelbands and Panis in any way suffered from a lack of payment that would have caused them to raise questions, just like the ones you raised?
Well, this year, 2016, in particular, is a year when, even as I speak, the players' remittances, which is the $1,000 that the players get for performance at the preliminary, has not been paid. And from my recollection, this is the first time that has happened. That we've reached November and that money has not been paid. So the steel bands themselves are up in arms and uncomfortable with that fact.
There are some folks who are saying that your exposure, your disquiet, your angst, your disillusionment with the management is not as innocuous as it seemed, because you may have your own ambition. I'm going to ask you about that when we continue inside Brunch on 107.7. I am Rennie Bishop. We will continue after this. It's after 10 o'clock. Brian Serrette is the former Trinbago vice president. He resigned in the last week, saying that I can no longer continue to be a part of something that is not providing me with the answers that I need, one, and two, is not in the best interest of the industry, of the organization, and by extension, the industry. There are those who are saying, all right, Mr. Serrette, we hear what you're saying, but we think you had designs on the presidency yourself, and that is your motivation. To that, how do you respond?
Let's go back a bit. In 2009, Patrick Arnold was the president, and his mother died. I was out of the country. I had gone to my son's graduation, And when I came back, I went to give my condolences to Patrick, and he said, Brian, I think I finished, I think I done. Yeah. I said, well, all right. And right there I said, well, look, I retiring from my job just now, so I might as well come and run for president. So he said, you will run? I said, well, we need leadership, so it's no problem. So I did put in a nomination for presidency in 2009. And the nominators, those who were nominated for president was Key Diaz. He had, I think it was like about 15 nominations. Patrick Arnold, who had, I think it is 3, and myself, who had 1.
Okay. Okay.
All right. As a matter of fact, on the last day to send in nominations, a friend of mine asked if I put in a nomination for vice president, and I said, well, no. He said, well, put in one for that too now. So I went and I got the thing, and I put in one for vice president on the very last day. A few days later, the secretary informed all nominated persons that certain nominations were not done properly. One of which was the one that I sent in. I think 3 of which was those that Patrick Arnold sent in. And about 3 or 4 of those that Diaz sent in. So that, as far as I was concerned immediately, I told Diaz, I said, well, Diaz, the election ain't reached yet, but as far as I'm concerned, you are the president. He said, you think so, boy? I said, well, you are, as far as I'm concerned, you're only one who have proper nomination papers. My nominations ain't good. Patrick nominations ain't good. You as the president.
Were you being tongue-in-cheek?
No, I was very serious. No, I don't play games. I don't play games. Yeah, I don't play games. And Patrick Arnold called me a few days later and said, Brian, you see what photo on them say about the nominations? I said, well, what photo on them say? They say your nomination ain't good. I said, but it ain't good. He said, well, the Constitution say that. I said, the Constitution don't have to say that. I say, in nominations being made, this is the rules. Some of those rules, you don't even have to put it in a Constitution. That is the practice from a long time, that this is how nominations are done. He hung up the phone because I didn't agree with him. He thought that because my nomination was bad, I would agree with him. I said, no, it's not good. I cannot run for president.
All right, so this is not a case of your ambition that led you to this resignation, but as you state, the irregularities. You say singularly that all the blame must be placed at the door of President Keith Diaz. Why?
Because he's the leader, he's the president. And he must guide and carry the organization in a particular way with the assistance of the central executive. That is why we have a central executive, and that is why we have a president. You must have a leader, and the executive, we would discuss all matters that come before the organization, and we will make decisions. And you being the president and the CEO, you will carry them out. It is not about you making decisions and we just rubber stamping.
Well, clearly there were other people in the organization, secretary, general secretary, and so on, who were responsible for the for accounting for what happens in the organization. To what level do you hold them? I know you have said that they may be part of the cabal. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. And Rennie, let me tell you something. About 2 years ago, what were we in, 2016 and 2014, I raised the question of collective responsibility to the organization. That was even before our last election. And I told the president at the time, and I told the members of the executive who had come to that meeting, I said, listen, it is not that the president was elected and he has appointed us to be in these various positions. It is that all of us were elected, and we are all responsible. So please, let us have discussions on matters and issues, and let us not have fiats coming from the president. Right? He was very upset, but what I see is what I speak. I don't know it any other way.
It is accurate to say that the responsibility, who should be held responsible, is the president and those of the elected members who should have been doing their duty with accounting, if your claim is correct. Have you been contacted by the ministry and or the NCC or anyone?
Yes, I have.
You have. My guest, by the way, in case you just locked into us on Brunch this morning, is Brian Serrette. He is the former Trinbago Vice President and Event Manager who resigned in protest as to the going-ons in the organization. So you were contacted, so they are, in fact, seeking information from you, at least as to the allegations you make.
Yes.
What do you expect is going to come out of this?
Well, Trinbago is a democratic organization, and I would expect in the first instance that the membership should rise up, ask the right questions, and I would think that they should, in the first instance, the executive as it stands should resign.
Well, I'm about to ask you that. As Vice President, you would know the Constitution of Trinbago, the bylaws, and so on. So tell me, in the area where there is an allegation, not that anything has been proven yet, while there are allegations against either the President or the Central Committee, are they asked to step aside pending that? What bylaws of the organization say?
It doesn't speak specifically to that. What I'm saying is that if the central executive now, if they have a conscience in the light of all that is going on, they should resign. If they don't, then the general membership has a responsibility to do just that, to remove them and examine all the items. And there's a space, there's place in the Constitution for the membership to petition the secretary for a meeting on any particular matter and to act.
I don't expect you to have all the answers here, but if in fact the tens of millions of dollars that the organization is reportedly in the hole for, what will happen if in fact that executive does not step aside and we do not have anything happening between now and the next carnival season? And the next panorama season. Unfortunately, because Pan is focused at that time, it should be on a year-round situation, which you and I had discussed before.
Yes.
But what will happen in the interim?
Well, let's say that the state would be the ones who would fund the panorama. I am doubtful that the state would put money in the panorama with all this going on at this time. I suspect that they would seek some sort of clarity, some sort of something to know that this money is not going to be wasted, that the money that is provided for panorama will go for panorama, for the bands, for the players, for the administration of the event. I do not think that, as a matter of fact, in the newspaper report, the ministry spoke about their concern for the event and ensuring that it is taking place.
Yes.
So I suspect that the ministry would have talks with the present executive, and if the answers are not
forthcoming,
and if they're not comfortable with the answers, well, then I suspect they will act in one way or another.
Well, that is what I'm trying to tie down, and maybe I'm asking you to go a little too deep here, because if the ministry, for instance, because this is an autonomous body, if the ministry decided we're withholding the money, it means that they would collapse. But in the interim, there must be somebody running the events of pan men and steel bands generally in the country. You're looking at, if the executive does not go, then you either have to get somebody, I guess, indicted, or you have to set up a shadow organization to run it.
Well, I can't comment on that.
Understood.
I can't comment on that.
Understood. All right, Brian. So we're going to watch and see what happens here. I am very confident that in quick order, we are going to get some resolution to this. This is the culture of Trinidad and Tobago, and it's a lot of money.
Yeah, I would hope.
Those who were not paid, you said for the first time this year, the appearance fee. Talk about that from the last discussion, the last meeting you guys had before you resigned. Was that at all table discussed, and what was promised, or what was the plan to rectify this situation?
Okay. What was said was that. There was of the annual allocation, the 30.4 whatever that the government through the NCC would have had for Trinbago, there was a portion not yet received.
I see.
Right, so that you would notice in one of the reports during the week that the minister said that in the last week of October, the ministry gave Trinbago a check for $5 million. Which was supposed to take care of the players' remittances. And at the AGM on Sunday, the president announced that the players' remittance would be paid, seeing that they received the 5 million. His statement was that as far as he is concerned, from his counting, it should be more than just 5 million. But the fact is, the government gave 5 million, and the government said this is the rest of your allocation for 2015-2016. So out of that, we expect, not out of that, but it would cover that and a little, because the players' remittances really is a little more than 5 million. So whatever else Trinbago is supposed to have that money to be able to pay the players.
Is this the first time Trinbago has encountered a crisis like this where a vice president resigns? Because of what he perceived to be.
I think it's the first time.
It is the first
I
time.
can't remember it happening before.
Well, you put your neck out there, and because you see something that you stand for, and that is something that's very welcome when we have people standing up for what they believe. We will see how this plays out. Brian, Serrette, I can thank you. Cannot do anything else, but thank you very much for taking the time to be with us this morning. Anything else you want to pass on to the general listenership with regards to this that you would like to see happen?
Well, I'll say that, some people have been saying, why now, why I didn't do this all the time, and so on and so on. You cannot act until you have hard evidence. I'm not going to suspect something and go put my neck out for a suspicion. Okay? I was a custom officer for 35 years. I was a public servant for 41. So I do things in a particular order. I have certain experiences.
This process, yes.
And the matter... What I found in the matter in respect of the vehicles, I can prosecute that because that is my field.
I hear you.
So I got the information. I went to my former workplace, the customs. I got documentation, and I saw it. It's there in black and white in front of me. And as a self-respecting custom officer, I cannot be part of an organization. You see, one of the tenets of our custom officer is to protect the revenue. You ask any custom officer what's his job, he says, protect the revenue. So it's in me to protect the revenue. And what I saw was not protecting the revenue. So I can't be part of that.
Let me see. They said that a BMW is a guaranteed smooth ride. I get the feeling somebody will not be enjoying that ride. It is going to make a joke of BMW. It's not going to be a smooth ride. And that Audi may be around for a long time. Brian, Serrette, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this morning. We will keep in touch with you as we always have. And in case anything else pops up, we'll be talking to you again.
Thank you very much.
Have yourself a wonderful day and a good week ahead, my friend.
Thank you. And
thank you so much.